I completely forgot that I was speaking with people who were incarcerated for like those few minutes that I was there. And then after a while, it hits me like, oh, I'm I'm in prison right now, and I'm speaking to other human beings who are pouring their hearts out.
This is great. I am very excited today to be speaking with Emmanuel Kabongo, the producer and star of Sway, which is in theaters now. Emmanuel, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me here, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, it is something entirely unique and special. And where did it come from?
So originally, the movie Sway was actually titled Spiral, and it was written by Charlie Hamilton. Charlie and I have been friends for years. Started off in acting class back in like early 2011, 2012. And he had started off as an actor initially, but he was always good at writing, tremendously good. And so one day he wrote this short film called Spiral, and I read it and I thought it was really, really interesting. It was a story about a brother trying to save his younger brother who just got drafted in the NFL. And what he was trying to do was shop that short film around to try to see if he could get it made. But he was just winning writing competitions, and nothing was coming out of placing the short into competitions. And so, because he's just a writing machine, he wrote another short film called Parkwood, and but I had never read that short film. So years later, he brought both shorts together and turned it into a feature film called Spiral. And when he shared it with me, again, I thought his writing was brilliant. And I just told him, man, one day, if you ever make this movie, I'd love to be a part of it, even if it's not the main character of Sway. I just love to be a part of it. And fast forward to early 2023, I was really itching to produce a feature film because prior to that, I had produced shorts. I had produced a web series in 2013, 2014, 2 seasons titled Teenagers on YouTube. And this series was about teenagers in Toronto. It was actually the Euphoria before Euphoria, you know. So if you go on YouTube, you'll check it out. You could see it. It garnered over 10 million views on YouTube. It was actually the first time I got nominated for a Canadian Screen Award in acting. And fast forward, I was really itching to produce something new, but I knew it wasn't going to be a short film or another web series, not yet at least. I just really wanted to tackle feature film. And so I thought maybe I should write something myself because I had gotten into writing as well. And I realized that writing a short film, I mean, writing a new feature film was going to take some time. So I remember Charlie's script and I gave him a call and I said, hey, man, you have this script. It's kind of collecting dust. You're not really doing anything with it. I think it's written great, and I would love to bring it to life. I'd love to produce it. I'd love to direct it if you'd let me, and find all the actors. And he said, okay, look, it's my baby. I love this film. I actually would like to direct it with my directing partner, Zach Remelin, and you can go ahead and produce it. And one thing led to the next. Shared it with some actor friends. They liked it, came on board. Other producers who brought on board some EPs, and it just started to snowball out of nowhere. One person said yes, another person said yes, and that person was like, "Oh man, I know the perfect person to attach to the script. He would really love it. He's a camera guy, and he would love to come on board as an EP." And fast forward after that gentleman read it, he decided, "Hey, I would love to DP your film if you don't have a DP." My name is Chris Moresby, and we ended up getting Chris Moresby, who's an amazing DP, and he did such an amazing job. And I mean, the movie wouldn't look the way it looked the movie wouldn't look the way it looks right now because, if it wasn't for Chris. And yeah, and then festival runs 2024, and we actually started in LA at the Pan African Film Festival. And then from there, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax. We went to South Carolina. We went to, uh, I think we went to Boston at one point, Charlotte. Um, and we ended up going to, well, I ended up going to Nigeria at the African, a African International Film Festival in Lagos, which was really neat. And we got into another festival in Albany. We won an award there, and Vancouver Black Film Festival. And then we finished off the year at Whistler,
Mm.
at the Whistler Film Festival, where we were in competition for the Borso competition. And then my job as a producer for 2025 was to secure distribution. And so I went back just with some of the connections I had and people that I knew in distribution and shared my film and some connections I had made at film festivals. And then at the same time that I was looking for distribution, I really wanted to improve my knowledge as a producer because I felt the experience with Sway was great, but I wish I knew a bit more of how to put things together. And so I decided to go back to school and I applied for the Canadian Film Center Producers Lab and I got in.
Wow.
I got in. I got in with four other producers, and I'm sure you know the Producers Lab at the CFC. It's highly competitive, and some of Canada's top producers come out of there. Like Damon Oliveira. He was one of our mentors. Allison Richards as well. Um, that like it was just it was just such an amazing time. And through that program, I was able to understand how to communicate with distributors and buyers. And I was able to get a really like a decent deal with two distributors from North America. So one from the United States and one from Toronto. And we actually launched our first theatrical run in LA late December, early December. So I flew back down to LA. I was down there with Lavelle Adams Gray, who plays who plays Richie, and one of our other EPs, Sari Colt. And from there, we were planning to set up our release in Canada. And with Canada, we're with Raven Banner. They really like the film, and yeah, we set it up for Black History Month. And here we are
Yeah.
today. We actually premiered last Friday, and we got an extension from Cineplex. We did really well our first weekend, so that's why I'm smiling so hard. I'm really happy. We did so well. Well, pretty well. And um, and so they decided to give us an extension, and um, and we also got a billboard up at Dundas Square. Well, what's it called now? Sankofa? What's it?
Yeah, I
Square.
truthfully don't know
Yeah,
what it's
yeah,
changed
yeah.
to, but I know where you
I
mean.
forget. Yeah. So down there, and we have our poster there for the film, and yeah, yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are. There's so much more I could share,
That's
but like yeah, but that's where we are.
but honestly, Emmanuel, that is fantastic. This is so
Thank you.
great. And the film, like I said, it really goes full throttle. Like this is a film
Thank
that
you.
goes hard and has just a phenomenal cast, phenomenal story, phenomenal writing. Um, and I would love to hear from you about Sway.
Yeah.
Um, Sway's a fascinating character, and he almost
Mhm.
seems to shift based on what room he's in and the type of character that he is.
Mhm.
But I'm going to cut right through it here when I say this. Do you think Sway is a good man?
Do I think Sway is a good man? I think Sway is a broken man. I think he's broken. And because he's broken, he's both good and not so good. Because he's broken, sometimes he makes choices based on fear, and sometimes he makes choices based on love. And I think that's akin to a lot of people out there in this world, you know? It's I'm very glad you asked me this question because the day before our premiere, I got invited to go speak at a jail. It's something that I do once in a while. I go in and I volunteer my time and I go to speak with inmates, some of them who are doing life, some of them who are as young as 18,
Wow.
right? And so last Thursday, me and another actor, we got invited to attend this event. But I also thought it would have been a great opportunity to show my film. And so I spoke with the organizer that had invited me, and they checked in with the warden and the system and the facility, and they approved it. And so I got there after the movie screened. I wanted them to kind of watch it without me there. And when I got there, the um, the programmer, the organizer was so excited, and she was like, "They all love the movie, and they're all asking about you."
Wow.
So when I showed up, like it's a high security, jail, prison, and there was 45 of them, 45 men
Yeah.
from the ages of 18 to I would say 60s, huge age gap. And we just got talking, like how you and I are talking right now about the film. And they had so many questions. What was the budget for, But then they had character questions as well. And the more I was talking to them about the story, about what the story meant to me and the message behind the story, the more they were responding and reacting to me and them themselves sharing what their experiences was like watching the film. I completely forgot that I was speaking with people who were incarcerated for like those few minutes that I was there. And then after a while, it hits me like, oh, I'm I'm in prison right now and I'm speaking to other human beings who are pouring their hearts out, you know, but yet they're locked up, who knows for what, some may be in there for something really serious. Some may be in there because, mistaken identity, you never know, right? And when I speak to these people, like I don't see them as being as bad people. I'm sure they've done some terrible things, but in that moment, for that moment that we were interacting about the movie, I could not completely forgot. I could not see that. I saw hearts speaking to me. Men just excited that they watched a movie that where they saw themselves in a way, or they resonated with the struggle of the character, not because he was bad, but because there was this tussle, this push and pull. And so yeah, to answer your question, I don't think Sway is bad. He is broken. And when as someone who's broken, who has not dealt with that deep trauma, it ends up showing up somewhere else.
I love that you're saying it that way too, because this is one of the things I love about the film is as I was saying, every moment with Sway feels like we see a different side of him, even though they're all related to the same story. The film
Hmm.
wraps up. It's got a great story. The
Hmm.
who's going what, what's pulling the strings, who's involved, and all these things is there. But Sway is painted with a brush of humanity.
Hmm.
And or at least that's how I saw it. So this is fascinating to me that you're sharing about this about in the prison system because that must have like that must have really resonated
Oh
with
yeah,
the men that you met.
yeah. It really, really did. When I say, look, man, I walked in there and I saw this kid with half of his face slashed,
Wow.
fresh, like it was still healing. I could almost see the inside of his, He comes up to me, shakes my hand, and he said, "Thank you, man. I really resonated with that story. It really spoke to me. You know, it's nice to see stories like this." Another kid, while I was doing the panel with them, raises his voice and says, "Hey, man, I'm from your neighborhood. I'm from the neighborhood you grew up in. I used to go to the same community center you went to when you were growing up. I grew up on a street called, I grew up in a neighborhood called Blake Street in Toronto, you know, and to hear that, to see that, and just like, wow, this film is not only is it entertaining, uh, but it's also educational and inspiring. And as a filmmaker, as a producer, as a storyteller, those are the kinds of films I want to continue focusing on. Yes, it's important for me to uh, have these films be successful and do well in the box office or get a great streaming deal with one of these big players. But at the end of the day, it's also about how can I educate people with what I do? How can I inspire people with what I do? And it seems like in this case, these men were inspired because the programmer was like, hey, this never happens
Mm.
where 45 different men from different neighborhoods are all in one room and getting along and talking because of a movie,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Honestly, I think
yeah.
this is moving away from the film here, but I think story has that power.
It does. Yeah.
It really is remarkable how I've had this conversation with a bunch of people before where we just say, 50 people in a room from different stories, different backgrounds, they might hate each other and they can have the same shared experience.
Yeah.
And in this case, you have an audience that really is connecting with him as a character. That's got
Mhm.
to break down those walls and those barriers. That's
Yeah.
actually remarkable. Like I'm genuinely
Thank
humbled
you.
listening to this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah.
and especially too, one of the things I love about this film is this interesting tension between truth and lies.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Yes.
I think my one of my favorite lines is sometimes our blind spots are bigger than our field of vision.
Vision. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and with your experiences with the film and in with audiences like this, do you think that's true? That sometimes our blind spots are bigger than our field of vision?
Yes. Yes, very much so. It's like when when I put my fist right in front of my face like this, it looks bigger than the sun, you know. But when I move it away from my fist, I could tell, I could see the size. All that to say is perspective is key. Sometimes we can be so tunnel vision. It's like Sway. He's so tunnel vision on this one goal that, he kind of forgets of all the other things that are happening, some of the intricate things, you know. And because of that, pride is a funny thing. Pride can make us so blind to certain things, to some things that are very important. And that's what you see with Sway. That's where that line comes in, right? Because of his pride, he it's just tunnel.
Hmm.
You don't see you don't see the big picture. You're not paying attention to the small things with Richie. He's doing one thing here, you're letting it pass. He's doing something else here, you're letting this pass. It's all just flying right under your nose, right? There's that line, that other line. Some people laugh at it, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but he says, and this was a improv. It just came out. I should have shot you a long time ago.
Yeah. That was improv?
That was improv.
Really?
It
Okay.
just came out. Yeah,
Because it
just
fits
came
that
out.
moment so beautifully.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah. It just
Yeah.
came out, you know. But yes, I agree with what you just said.
It's interesting. It's interesting you use the term pride because pride can mean so many things.
Hmm.
I'd like to go back there for a second with Sway because,
Hmm.
I mean, you can have pride because somebody thinks they're the biggest hot shot in the world.
Hmm.
I I don't know if that's the case with Sway, but I feel like I can you talk about that balance of pride with him? Like what is it
Hmm.
that 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 you think is the pride is that pride shell, if you will, for him?
Um, you know, I'm Christian. There's a verse in the Bible that says pride comes before the fall, right? And you don't always know when that fall is going to happen. But if for Sway, not having that humility,
Hmm,
not really serving others, but serving himself, builds that pride. And how does he wear that pride? With what he has, with the money, with the flashy stuff. And to a lot of people in this world, that's success. That's, oh, I'm proud of you, man. Really proud of you. But really, all that stuff is fleeting,
hmm,
you know? We forget that there's this one guy that's really close to you that lost his brother, you know? While you have your brother's Sway, Richie lost his brother. He's in pain. Are you really paying attention to that? You know? There's a line that Sway says while in his interview, you know, with Lisa when they're talking about Richie, and she says, "Oh yeah, you were looking after him after his brother died." So I can't remember all the lines, but he was like, "Yeah, I took him on. His brother died, and so it was kind of my responsibility to." But he didn't really take care of him,
hmm,
right? He kind of took him along, but you see how he treats him, right? No, it's brotherly, but it's not brotherly,
hmm,
you know. And but kind of bringing that back to pride with Sway. I like to use the word pleased,
hmm,
you know. I'm pleased with you. I'm pleased with what you're doing because pride has a different face. Sometimes pride is all poor me, poor me, poor me. Why does this always happen to me? Which you see a different side of Sway with that pride, you know. Well, if you do this, I'll be done, man. Like, wait, you told me that, you'd get your dogs off me. That other side of pride is trying to come in, trying to plead,
hmm,
right? Um, then there's the other side of pride of like, what'd you do after you found out you were part of 40 under 40? Well, I bought myself a watch, kissed my wife, and got back to work.
hmm.
Me, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I gave back to the community. I opened this center. I mean, there's that too, right? But yeah, yeah, pride is it's a very tricky thing. So for me as Emmanuel, um, when people say, "Oh, you must be very proud," I said, "No, I'm not. It's not really about pride for me. It's more about I'm pleased, because I know that it, it could be taken away like that, and so I don't take this for granted. I appreciate it. And I try to I do my best to remain humble and make it about the people because without you watching it, without people going to the theaters and watching it without, without without people, there's no film. Without people, there's no festival. Without people, there isn't people going out there and getting, you know, their movie tickets, their popcorn. And so I'm very grateful for the people. I'm glad that the audience is resonating with this piece. I
Well,
apologize if I veered away from your
no, not at
question a little
all.
bit. Yeah.
Not at all. And I was just going to say, you have reason to be pleased because the film is great, and
Thank
I'm
you.
so thrilled it got a second. It's got a second weekend. Hopefully, it gets a third and a fourth.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, it really is. It really is a great film. Sway is in theaters now, in Toronto and elsewhere, or just in Toronto for now, or is it
In
across
in
Canada?
in Toronto, well, in Toronto and Morningside, Scarborough. So downtown Toronto, Scarborough and Toronto and Scarborough on the east side. But we're looking at expand since we got this expansion, we're looking at, getting the film a bit more across the country.
I hope it does. Honestly, Emmanuel, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you
I
so
really do
much.
appreciate it. Sway,
Appreciate your time too.
it's so good. Have a great day.